Have you ever had one of those mornings where everything's technically fine, you got some sleep, you ate breakfast, you even managed to get the kids out the door or wrap up that early meeting, and yet by 10 a.m., your brain feels foggy, your energy's dragging, and your mood is just off? You're not sad, not angry, just kind of stuck in neutral. If you've been there lately, you're not alone. After 40, the body starts whispering things it didn't before. And if we ignore those whispers, they turn into shouts. But here's the thing most people overlook: those mood swings, energy dips, or that mental blah feeling that creeps in by mid-morning. A lot of that starts in your gut. I know, gut health isn't exactly the most glamorous topic. But if there's one thing we've learned from science in the past decade, it's this: your gut is talking to your brain constantly. It's like the group chat between your stomach and your mind never sleeps. And the food you eat is the message you're sending. Now, before you start imagining kale smoothies and expensive probiotics, hold on. This isn't about going vegan overnight or cutting out every food you love. This is about understanding how 5 simple, everyday foods can either uplift your mood or quietly sabotage it. And when you're over 40, those little choices matter more than ever. So let's start where most of us don't expect to look: your morning toast. You see, a lot of people reach for white bread or a quick pastry when they're in a rush. It's easy. It's familiar. But here's the problem: those refined carbs spike your blood sugar like a firework, then drop it just as fast. That crash doesn't just leave you hungry again, it leaves you irritable, anxious, and tired. Like clockwork. But swap that white toast for something with fiber, like whole grain bread or sprouted grain toast, and everything changes. Why? Because fiber doesn't just help you stay full longer, it feeds the good bacteria in your gut. And when those bacteria are happy, they produce something called short-chain fatty acids. These little guys reduce inflammation, boost your immune system, and even help regulate your mood. It's wild, isn't it? Something as small as switching bread types can shift your emotional state by lunchtime. And that's just the start. Now imagine it's mid-morning, and you're eyeing that second cup of coffee. Or maybe it's a sugary yogurt or granola bar that promises to be healthy but has more sugar than a candy bar. And you grab it, because you're tired, and hey, you've got things to do. But then an hour later, you're crashing again. You're snapping at coworkers or zoning out on your 5th scroll through your inbox. That's not coincidence. That's your gut chemistry messing with your brain chemistry. Here's where I want to introduce you to one of the most powerful mood boosters that hardly anyone talks about: fermented foods. We're talking about simple things: yogurt with live cultures, kimchi, sauerkraut, miso, kefir. You don't need a degree in nutrition to enjoy these. Just a few spoonfuls a day can make a huge difference. Because fermented foods are full of probiotics, the good bacteria your gut needs to stay in balance. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine your gut is like a garden. When you feed it junk, excess sugar, processed stuff, alcohol, it's like inviting weeds to take over. But when you feed it fermented foods, you're planting flowers. You're giving the good bacteria a chance to grow strong and push out the bad ones. And that balance? That balance affects everything from your stress levels to how well you sleep at night. There was this woman I worked with, I'll call her Mai. She's 47, busy professional, 2 teenagers, always running on fumes. She came to me saying she felt anxious all the time, couldn't focus, and her moods were up and down like a yo-yo. But when we looked at her diet, we saw the issue. Lots of sugar. Lots of quick meals. No fiber. No fermented foods. So we made 2 tiny changes. She swapped out her sugary yogurt for a plain Greek yogurt with live cultures and added a tablespoon of kimchi to her lunch. That's it. Within 3 weeks, she wasn't just sleeping better. She said her brain felt clearer. Her moods weren't spiking. And the best part? She didn't feel like she was dieting or giving anything up. It was just smarter fuel. And that's what I want you to remember: after 40, it's not about eating less, it's about eating smarter. Your gut has a direct line to your brain through something called the vagus nerve. It's not just science, it's lived experience. That sluggish, heavy feeling after a fast food meal? That low mood that shows up after a weekend of indulging in too many sweets? That's your gut telling you something's out of whack. And the good news is, you can reset it, one bite at a time. So let's take a deep breath together. Because this isn't about perfection. It's about paying attention. Noticing how certain foods make you feel an hour later. Not just on the scale, but in your head, in your chest, in your ability to handle the day. You don't have to become someone else to feel better. You just need to start tuning into the connection between your plate and your peace of mind. And speaking of peace of mind, there's another sneaky food that can either support it or completely derail it, depending on how you use it. It's something most people have in their kitchens already, and it's been misunderstood for years. It's olive oil. Yes, that humble bottle on your kitchen counter might just be one of the most underrated tools for boosting not just your heart health, but your mental clarity and emotional balance, too. Here's the thing. Our brains are mostly fat. And the kind of fat you feed it matters. After 40, our bodies become less efficient at repairing themselves, and our brains, well, they need a little more TLC. You've probably noticed it, right? That moment when you walk into a room and forget why, or you sit down to work and your focus drifts off like a balloon on a windy day. That's not a failure. That's your brain saying, hey, can you feed me something better? Olive oil, real, cold-pressed, extra virgin olive oil, is rich in polyphenol and healthy monounsaturated fats. These fats reduce inflammation, protect your neurons, and support the gut-brain connection. I like to call it liquid clarity. You don't need to chug it or drizzle it over everything. Just replacing vegetable oil or margarine with olive oil in your cooking makes a massive difference over time. And I know what you might be thinking. Come on, can one oil really change how I feel? Let me tell you about Nam. He's 52, runs a small business, and was constantly in what he called a mental traffic jam. He was forgetful, edgy, and started dreading even small tasks. We didn't do anything extreme, we just looked at his meals. Lots of fried foods, lots of processed snacks, barely any healthy fats. We swapped his cooking oil, added a handful of nuts and seeds to his breakfast, and asked him to slow down at lunch, just chew and breathe. Within a month, his email replies stopped sounding like emergency signals. His wife said he smiled more. He said, it's like someone cleaned the windshield in my brain. That's the beauty of it. These aren't giant leaps. They're gentle pivots. Like walking through a dark room and flipping on a light switch, suddenly everything feels easier to navigate. Speaking of light, let's talk about something that works like sunshine for your mood, even when the weather isn't on your side. Omega-3s. If olive oil is liquid clarity, omega-3s are liquid calm. Now, I'm not here to sell you a supplement. I want you to think about foods you already know: salmon, sardines, walnuts, flax seeds. These are packed with omega-3 fatty acids, which play a huge role in how our brain cells talk to each other. Think of them like the oil that keeps the gears of your mind turning smoothly. And here's the kicker: our bodies can't make omega-3s on their own. We have to get them from food. When you're low on these, the communication in your brain slows down. Your risk of anxiety and depression goes up. And you might feel it in ways you don't even link to food, like that constant low-level stress that never seems to shut off, or the feeling that you're just surviving instead of living. I remember chatting with Twee, 45, who said she hadn't felt truly happy in years. Not sad. Just flat. Her doctor said everything looked fine on paper. But emotionally, she felt like she was underwater. We looked at her meals: lots of noodles, rice, meat, and coffee. Nothing wrong with any of those, but very little omega-3. She hadn't eaten fish in months. She started with 2 servings of fatty fish a week. That was it. Nothing dramatic. And a month later, she told me something that nearly made me tear up. She said, I heard myself laugh yesterday. Like, really laugh. I didn't realize how long it had been. We forget, sometimes, that food is chemistry. That emotion is chemistry. and that we can influence that chemistry with simple, doable changes, without medication, without expensive plans, without trying to be someone we're not. And I get it, eating healthy in your 40s is a different game. It's not just about weight anymore. It's about energy, focus, feeling grounded, being able to show up for your job, your family, and yourself. But here's the tricky part. Some of the foods we've been told are healthy are actually working against us when it comes to gut-brain harmony. Let's talk about artificial sweeteners for a second. You've seen them. Those little pink or yellow packets. The sugar-free label on a snack bar. The diet sodas we reach for because we're trying to be good. But what's happening under the surface is anything but good. Artificial sweeteners can actually disrupt the balance of bacteria in your gut. And remember, that gut is constantly sending signals to your brain. When your gut gets confused, so does your mood. You might notice more irritability, more cravings, more emotional roller coasters that feel out of proportion to the moment. And look, I'm not here to guilt trip anyone for loving a little sweetness. Life after 40 has enough stress without food shame. But I am saying, tune in. Notice how you feel after a day of diet sodas or sugar-free snacks. Compare it to how you feel after a bowl of berries or a piece of dark chocolate. There's a difference, and your body knows it, even if your taste buds take a while to catch up. Here's the real truth no one told us in our 30s. It's not about willpower. It's about wiring. When you give your gut what it needs, your mind starts working with you, not against you. You stop battling yourself. And you start feeling like yourself again. Not the 25-year-old version. Not some ideal version. Just you, clearer, calmer, more grounded in the now. And that's what this journey is really about. Not six-packs or crash diets. Not chasing youth. It's about using food as a quiet form of self-respect. As a way to say to your body, I'm still listening. I'm still here. And when you start from that place, even the smallest change becomes a powerful shift. Now, there's one more group of foods we need to talk about. Foods that might surprise you. Ones that seem healthy on the surface but can wreak havoc behind the scenes, especially when stress and age are already doing their dance. And once you understand how to use or avoid them, your gut and your mind will start singing the same song again. You ever look at a label that says low-fat, gluten-free, or even plant-based and think, well, hey, that's gotta be healthy, right? Not so fast. We live in a time where grocery store aisles are full of foods pretending to be healthy. They wear the right labels, use all the trendy words, and make you feel like you're doing something good for yourself. But underneath all the branding is often a load of hidden sugars, emulsifiers, gums, and preservatives that are doing your gut and your mind absolutely no favors. And the worst part? A lot of these show up in so-called health foods that people over 40 are encouraged to eat. Protein bars, diet shakes, low-fat yogurts, gluten-free snacks, meal replacement drinks. And sure, they might be convenient. They might help with calorie control. But your gut microbiome doesn't care about convenience, it cares about nourishment. When your body takes in these synthetic additives, things like carrageenan, artificial flavors, and processed gums, it treats them as irritants. And when your gut lining gets irritated, even just a little bit, your immune system goes on alert. Chronic, low-grade inflammation becomes your background music. And that, over time, can lead to anxiety, brain fog, and emotional fatigue that you can't just walk off. So here's my suggestion. Next time you're holding one of those packaged healthy items, flip it over. Not to check the calories, but to check the ingredients. If it reads more like a science experiment than a food label, leave it on the shelf. Your mood will thank you later. Instead, lean into foods that don't need to convince you they're healthy, because they just are. Things like sweet potatoes, leafy greens, avocado, beans. Foods your grandparents would recognize. The ones without commercials. The ones that don't come in neon-colored wrappers. And I'm not saying you can't enjoy convenience. This isn't about going back to the Stone Age or cooking 3-hour meals. It's about making room on your plate for realness, one step at a time. And while we're on the topic of what to include, let's not forget about the quiet magic of polyphenol. You might not recognize the name, but you've definitely tasted them. They're in blueberries, in green tea, in red onions, in turmeric. These compounds have powerful antioxidant effects, and they help nourish your gut bacteria while reducing oxidative stress, something that becomes more and more important as we age. But here's the coolest part. Polyphenol aren't just good for your body, they actually boost levels of BDNF in your brain. That stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It's basically Miracle-Gro for your brain cells. And when your BDNF levels are up, you think more clearly, remember more easily, and even feel more optimistic. Ever notice how after a few days of eating fresh, colorful meals, your whole vibe changes? You're not just lighter, you're brighter. That's not a placebo. That's biology responding to nourishment. I remember a man named Trong, father of 3, tech guy, had been feeling emotionally numb for a long time. No major problems, just no joy. He wasn't depressed in the clinical sense, but he said it was like his feelings were all turned to low volume. He started adding a cup of green tea in the mornings, a handful of blueberries to his afternoon snack, and began cooking with turmeric once or twice a week. He didn't change much else. Just those little tweaks. And one day, he messaged me to say, "I caught myself dancing while making dinner last night. I hadn't done that in years." That's the power of giving your body, and your brain, the right tools. Look, no one gives you a manual for this stage of life. You wake up one day and realize your body doesn't bounce back the way it used to. Your emotions feel heavier. Your focus is blurrier. But the beautiful thing is, your choices still matter. They matter more than ever. And you don't have to go on some 30-day cleanse. You don't need to give up bread forever. You don't need to chase perfection. You just need to pay attention to what gives you energy, to what drains it, to how your gut feels after a meal, and how your mind follows. Food is information. It tells your body what to do next. And when you start making choices that support your gut, you're not just feeding your stomach, you're feeding your peace, your clarity, your spark. So maybe tomorrow, instead of skipping breakfast or grabbing whatever's quick, you blend up a smoothie with kefir, blueberries, and flax seeds. Maybe you switch out your usual snack for a boiled egg and a drizzle of olive oil on whole grain toast. Maybe you cook dinner with turmeric and serve a side of sauerkraut. Not because you have to, but because your body deserves better fuel. And if you mess up one day, if you stress eat your way through an entire bag of chips, that's okay too. You're not a failure, you're human. You just start again. One meal, one choice, one breath at a time. Because here's what I want you to remember, your mood is not a mystery. It's not something you're stuck with. It's something you can shape, slowly and gently, through the way you live, the way you rest, and yes, the way you eat. You've got so much life left to live. So many more mornings to wake up with purpose. So many more laughs to have, hands to hold, goals to chase. And it all starts in your gut. You don't need to overhaul your life, you just need to begin. Today. With one small change. With one meal that says, "I care about how I feel." Because you deserve to feel clear. You deserve to feel calm. You deserve to feel good in your own skin, no matter what the number on your ID says. So here's to that first small step. Here's to the foods that lift us up, ground us, and remind us of who we are. If this video spoke to you, drop a comment below and share your thoughts or favorite gut-friendly foods. Hit the like button if you learned something today, and don't forget to subscribe so we can keep having these real, heart-to-heart conversations about food, about life, about showing up fully at every age. Here's to living stronger, smarter, and happier, starting from the inside out. You know, if you're still here with me, really here, listening, I want to say something important. Thank you. Not for watching, but for showing up for yourself. Because that's the hardest part, isn't it? Just starting. Just saying, maybe I deserve to feel better than this. And letting yourself believe that something as ordinary as food could be part of the answer. We don't talk about it much, but somewhere between the chaos of our 30s and the reflection of our 40s, something quiet happens. You start asking different questions. Not how do I look, but how do I feel? Not am I doing enough, but am I okay? And that shift, that's everything. Because when you've lived enough life to carry both joy and heartbreak in the same breath, when you've taken care of everyone else for so long, you start craving something deeper. Balance. Clarity. Real energy, not the kind that comes from caffeine or adrenaline. Real peace, not the kind you fake through forced smiles. And it turns out, the path to that kind of peace starts in places we've been taught to overlook. In the moment you slow down to eat lunch, instead of rushing through another deadline. In the choice to add color to your plate, a handful of greens, a scoop of fermented veggies, a splash of olive oil, because you can love your food and love your mind at the same time. In the decision to care, just a little more, about what you feed your gut, because you've learned that your gut is where your story begins every single day. It's never really been about the food. It's about what the food allows you to become. More focused. More alive. More you. I've seen it happen, not in celebrity wellness routines or flashy before and after photos, but in real people, just like you. The tired mom who replaced her late-night snacks with herbal tea and a spoonful of kefir and said her dreams finally came back. The accountant who switched from cereal to eggs and sauerkraut for breakfast and started laughing again. The teacher who realized that the slump he thought was just getting older was actually his gut screaming for help, and who now walks into his classroom feeling light. You don't have to be anyone else to get here. You don't have to be perfect. You don't need the right supplements or the fanciest diet. You just need to listen. To your gut. To your mind. To the version of you that's been waiting quietly, underneath all the noise, to come back home. And look, life will still happen. Stress won't disappear just because you added flaxseed to your oatmeal. But your ability to handle that stress? To bounce back? That's where the difference lives. When your gut is nourished, your mind stops running from fire to fire. You sleep better. You focus longer. You react less. You feel grounded. And that version of you? That's the one the world needs. Your partner needs that version. Your kids. Your coworkers. Your future. But most of all, you need you. So maybe tomorrow morning, you sit with your coffee a little longer. You make breakfast with intention, not just habit. You treat your gut not like a nuisance, but like the wise old friend that it is, always speaking, always guiding, if we'd only learn to listen. Because every bite is a message. Every meal is a chance. Every day is a new vote for the kind of life you want to live. And if you're wondering where to begin, start small. Add one gut-happy food to your day. Just one. Maybe it's a spoonful of kimchi. Maybe it's a drizzle of olive oil. Maybe it's a bowl of blueberries or a few walnuts between meetings. Whatever it is, let it be a symbol, a gentle reminder that you're not stuck. That you're not broken. That healing is not a destination but a rhythm, a practice, a daily act of self-respect. You've spent years building a life. You've taken care of so many people. Now, let your body take care of you, with a little help. Let your gut be your ally. Let your food be your quiet revolution. And let this be the season where you stop surviving and start feeling whole. Because you deserve more than just getting through the day. You deserve to feel clear, steady, and alive, in your heart, in your mind, and yes, in your belly. So, if this message stirred something in you, share it. Not just with a friend, but with yourself. Bookmark it. Come back to it. Use it on the days when you forget. Because healing isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's the quiet choice you make again and again to nourish yourself, even when no one else is watching. and I'll be right here with you, cheering you on. If this video helped you feel seen, if it made you breathe a little deeper or think a little differently, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Tell me which change you're making this week. And subscribe if you want more content that speaks to your real life, not just your highlight reel. Thanks for spending this time with me. Here's to gut health, to mental health, and to a life that actually feels good after 40 and far, far beyond. Stay kind to yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.